But speaking of someone with a lot of fans, spawning in the top right hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the red Zerg player representing the CranKy Ducklings. He is the Street Fighter. It is Ryu. Looking for his Ken. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Jagannatha LE, we have the Peruvian Terran representing Unidos por el Vicio. It is Tavo. Let's go. Okay, the Rax is at home. We don't have SCVs out on the map. Tavo is not going for a proxy. Proud of him. And I'm not saying he needs to be fair, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he throws one out there in the middle of a series. Like, that's what's so great against someone like Special. Special, he can macro, or he can just cheese the hell out of you. That's what's so oh god, what's the word? Like, it's hard to really anticipate what he's going to do here. Meanwhile, Tavo opening up standard, but you know, it's always great to have a reputation of uncertainty to you, or to have your opponent be uncertain about how you're going to open up. Meanwhile, Hatchcat's pool. Interesting location here of the spawning pool for Ryu, but nothing too crazy happening right now. And this will give us an opportunity to talk a little bit more about the players. As Ryu, he is a very iconic player. Of course, you know, he can go Lingbane Muta, but for the people in the chat who have seen him not just here on this channel but also in DreamHack, Ryu loves going borrowed Banelings. The borrowed mines, he loves it. He gets borrow, and what's impressive about how Ryu plays against Bio is that in the middle of an engagement, in the middle of a push, he has the micro to borrow 2 Banelings or a handful of Banelings in the middle of all this chaos, and then he backs off. Tavo chases, or the Terran player chases, and then the mines go off. It's insane to see it happen. Like, it's a thing of beauty. On top of that, Ryu also loves going Dropper Lords as well, going for Dropper Lord harassments. He used to be known as the Lurker King of Latin America. He used to go Hydra, Lurker, Viper in every single matchup, even this matchup. But that time has kind of come and gone. You know, the reign of the Lurker King was in 2020. Let's be real here. Ryu has broadened his horizons, and he embraces more like Lingbane Muta whenever he can. And another interesting thing about Ryu is that specifically on maps like Blackburn and Beckett Industries and Lightshade as well, Ryu has been known to open up with roaches. I don't expect him to do so on Jagannatha, but that is the way that he adapted it to Chaos Fate, fun fact, because Chaos Fate is so aggressive as a Terran player with his pushes, with his bio tank pushes, that Ryu really struggled with his Ling Bane on those smaller maps. So he kind of practiced his aggression and his roach openings to put the Terran on the back foot instead. So Ryu has been able to, again, like, just incorporate a lot of different styles to this matchup specifically. And I was just talking about roaches, and there it is. We do have a roach warren. I didn't expect him to do it on this map. For me, I've seen Ryu approach it like it's very map specific for him. But to go roaches here, okay, Ryu, I see you. Meanwhile, Tavo did open up with a 1-1-1 opening. The Overlord is diving in, but there is no pneumatized carapace, there is no Overlord speed, so the Overlord will not see the Fusion Core. As it does go down. He did scout that it was a fast 3rd CC, it was a 3rd CC before Starport, but he doesn't know what's coming out of that Starport. Delayed Fusion Core, it's not what you expect. So this could deal a lot of damage if Ryu doesn't have a lot of queens. Problem is, he should have a lot of queens. Why? Because he's going roaches. He does have 3 creeping queens. He does have 1 additional queen at each base. He's got another on the way. So he has the anti-air to deal with the BC if it's all together in the same place. Meanwhile, the Hellions, they're looking to make sure that doesn't happen. The goal here for Tavo is you come in with the BC, you force the queens to react, and then the Hellions dive into a mineral line. So Ryu has to be careful. He has to make sure he has enough to defend both. And the problem is that he doesn't know that he has to defend both, because he hasn't scouted the fusion core. So far though, he was actually able to pick off a couple of Hellions. 2 Hellions went down. Honestly, that's a pretty big deal, especially when you're going for the 1-2 punch. Oh, so that will mean that the run by is going to be significantly weaker here for Tavo. Meanwhile, thank you so much. Shout out to Sephiron SC2 or SC2 Sephiron in the chat for the raid. I hope you enjoyed your ladder stream. I'm assuming that you went for a ladder stream. Thank you so much for the raid. For those wondering, Sephiron is an Australian Protoss player. So yeah, I hope you had a good time. Hope you had a good ladder session. Meanwhile, oh my god, the Hellion run by will dive in. The drones are lining up. Oh my god, the volley. Oh, 5 drones go down. Maybe more than 5. Oh, just 5 for now. That could have been a lot worse, but now in comes the BC. Unfortunately, a little bit mistimed, because now that the queens have dealt with the Hellions, they can divert their attention to the BC, and the BC already used its teleport. As the queens do push it away, at the same time the roaches were able to thwart or again deal with the remaining Hellions. The BC has been able to kill 1 drone for now. Can he get more? Maybe a couple more. The queens, they're having a really awkward time chasing this down, but they do get here in time. And unfortunately Yamato is not done, so the amount of damage that this BC can do is very limited here as it does get pushed away, but he has to survive a little bit longer and then Yamato will be complete. Meanwhile, roaches actually went across the map. 3 SCVs got picked up, oh my god. Again, Hellions have a hard time dealing with roaches, and I did not expect this. Tavo is going for mech, by the way. 2 more factories finished up. He is going BC mech. I thought so when I saw Yamato. Speaking of, there we go, another queen goes down. Ooh, there's no creep connecting the bases. Again, more opportunities for this BC to get the teleport off cooldown, and there it is. There is that teleport. He does go back home, will get repaired. So I was talking about mech earlier. I have seen Tavo play mech before, of course. You know, he's very good friends with Neo. But I didn't expect him to do it here against Ryu, you know? We'll see how this works here. I do think that Ryu has some pretty decent versus mech styles. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Because unfortunately for Tavo, mate, Ryu, he's already working on on his infestors. The infestors are coming out. We do have a couple of Hellions that are trying to sneak into the base, but oh my god, the burrow comes in. Oh my god. I love it. The Hellions will be dealt with. Very minimal losses here at the 3rd base. The BC comes in, but the queens are here to deal with it. They have plenty of energy for transfuse. Up. Transfuse? Hey, they didn't even need it. BC gets pushed away again. I think maybe 1 drone died, if that. Meanwhile, I was trying to think of it. Neuroparasite is about to finish up, and this is scary. When the push happens, Ryu will not just have energy for fungals, he will be able to take control of the BCs. And once he has control of the sky, it's like, Tavo. You gotta be careful, buddy. You gotta be very careful indeed. We do have Cyclones on the way. Mag Field Accelerators about to finish up by the time the push happens. The push is on the way. Bear that in mind. Rocks go down. The highway is almost complete. Ooh, Tavo's in the middle of moving out. This is scary. If Tavo loses this army, Ryu's just going to go for the counterattack. Tavo scans. He sees the infestors. He knows what's happening. He comes all the way back home. Where are the tanks? Where are the tanks, Papi? The tanks are at the 3rd base. Sorry, they're at the 4th and not at the 3rd. Oh no, reposition. He does unsee. She's coming over, but it's a little bit too late. The roach is already pushing up the ramp. And he does get up the ramp. He gets up into the high ground. 2 tanks do finally siege up. But they were completely out of position, and because of that, no mining here at the 3rd whatsoever. A couple of depots go down. Ryu just trading out whatever he can. Behind this, upgrades are on the way. 2-2 is on the way. Not just 2-2. He's getting ready for a muta switch. What a madman. I say muta switch because the hive isn't on the way yet. And what shoots up? There's no Thors. There's literally 2 Cyclones. That's the anti-air. To be fair, there are missile turrets, but you want more than just that. A couple of biles do go down on the army. Very interesting that Tavo is keeping the BCs back intentionally. He doesn't want them to get neuraled. Because that's exactly what these infestors are waiting for. Meanwhile, Tavo, he just turtles up on 4 bases. That's the great thing about Jagannatha. Jagannatha, it's pretty easy to get 4 bases. 5th base, that's another story. But 4 bases, right? You have the high ground, you have the ramps as an advantage. The problem with the 5th is that you do have to go down a ramp and then back up one to take it. This 5th here towards the bottom right is pretty ideal. Ryu moving out once again, and of course he's not going for the mutants, he's going for the corruptors. I did kind of forget about the BCs when I was talking about that, not gonna lie, but now he will have some solid anti-air to help deal with the BCs other than the neurals. Now we do have a bit of a Hellion run by. It does get caught out in the middle of the map. Oh my god, the creep spread, it just doesn't stop here for Ryu. And what is the army looking like now? More tanks, more Hellions. Again, Tavo is fortifying himself very well on 4 bases. And he's working on getting a 5th. But getting that 5th base, it is going to be like a moment of contention here for these 2 players. Also, Ryu's bank is getting quite large. Like, Tavo hasn't been able to be aggressive at all for the past 5 minutes. He's trying. Another Hellion run by. And it is Blue Flame, but he runs into the spines. Oh my god. Every single Hellion goes down. At the same time, another tank gets biled as well. And we have a second Spire on the way. So I'm a little bit concerned about something. Hive is done. Thank god. But we need a greater Spire. It looks like Ryu, he's getting ready to go into those Broodlords at some point once he deals with the BCs. BCs are about to show up, but the Corruptors are looking to hunt them down. Not just the Corruptors, the Infestors as well. They want a Neural or Fungal or anything. At the same time, the Hellions and the Cyclones do run into the army. Oh my god, there it is. The Neurals go down. All 3 BCs will fall. Aye, there we go. Only 2 BCs left. Where's the teleport? Teleport's not there. They can teleport away. Oh, never mind. Forces a cancel on the teleport. And now, with no BCs, there's no reason not to go Broodlords. No reason at all. Meanwhile, Tavo is pushing out. What's important is that right now, these Corruptors are dead supply. So Tavo, he does have like an army advantage at the moment. He's pushing deep into creep. He's clearing up a lot of it. And what's the ground army looking like right now? The Infestors are out of position. They're not here to fungal. The Roach Ravagers trying to push in, but the tanks are very nicely spread out. Something that we're also missing. Ryu didn't make any Vipers. I'm shocked. I'm surprised. Where are the Vipers? They're not here. Instead, the Ravagers are trying to force their way through these tanks. They will, though. This is an expensive loss. Oh my god, the Neural on the tanks? I was not expecting flanking Infestors. Oh my god. But the flanking Infestors, they do find the tanks, and now there are no tanks to defend. That was a very massive loss there for Tavo. Unfortunately, he didn't have, like, this Hellion Cyclone needed to be there for the tanks. They needed to protect those tanks from the Corruptors, from the Ravagers. We saw how few Ravagers there really were to deal with them. That's why I wanted some spellcasters in there. But now that there are no more tanks, the Roach Ravager just shuts everything down. 15, 18 SCVs fall. And this is the beginning of the end. Sure, there are some tanks, but they're bunched up. They get biled down. There's only 1 tank remaining. We do have a couple more on the way, but GG gets called, and Ryu takes the first game. Oh. GG. Funada, that battle mech. Like, we saw how many Hellions and Cyclones there were. Unfortunately, they were on the other side of the map. They weren't with the tanks where they needed to be. I'm not too sure why. I think the Cyclones were defending against the Corruptors. I think the Corruptors went across the map to like to caustic spray down some buildings. But at least the Hellions needs to be there, right? Anything to stop those Ravagers from getting close to those tanks, because that was a lot of tanks that went down there almost for free. Oof. GG. Other than that slip up though, I will say that Tavo was playing well. Tavo was, you know, he got up to 4 bases safely, right? And 4 bases for a long time is all you need to max out on mech. He had a really good unit composition. It was a shame that he lost his BCs, but like the BCs, they kind of serve their purpose. Like, yeah, losing the BCs wasn't the biggest of deals for him. It was just losing all those tanks. Like, that was just a game losing moment for him. Now he's up against the wall because this is a best of 3. Ryu only needs 1 more. And I'm curious to see how Tavo is going to approach game 2. RJ, Ryu looking super stoked. Man, I was not expecting the flanking infestors. I'm even looking at the stream right now. He's Neuralink Cyclones, the madman. He's crazy. Oh god. Meanwhile, yo, Funada Cristiano. It looks like I say Funada Cristiano. Oh god, Cristiano's in the chats. Shout out to him. Unfortunately, I was saying earlier he was meant to join me today for a cast and even compete in the tournament, but he is busy with university, with studying. So I say that as he's tuning into the stream? Question mark. But I understand, you know, university studies does come first. It does come first. So I wish you the best of luck with that. Hope you're doing well in your studies. And hey, there's gonna be plenty of opportunities to cast later on. It's fine. It's all fine. Sentimiento Latino is, of course, a bi-weekly tournament. Every 2 weeks we have a Sentimiento Latino. It is not going anywhere. Not enough mines. God damn it, ARJ Skater. God damn it. Que bien juega Ryu, ¿no? Sí, sí. Very good, very good. Again, Ryu is one of the best Zergs in the region. He is, I keep saying one of the best because I will say that a lot of the top Zergs are very close in skill. And that being players like Ryu, Jim Rising, Eggs, and the Zerg Lord. Those 4 players are very close in skill and they all go back and forth with each other. Above them, of course, are Cham and Eric. Cham and Eric being the top 2 Zergs in the region, and the other 4 are like kind of tied for 3rd in a way. It's like whoever is good on the day at that moment is able to really make a run for themselves. And what I will say is that Ryu has beaten Eric before. I think it was like maybe a month ago. Maybe just over a month ago, we were able to cast Ryu versus Eric in I think it was a Battle of the Americas or a Sentimiento Latino. And Ryu took Eric down. I was very impressed. I was very impressed with Ryu. It's something that doesn't happen often. You know, Eric, he's kind of el pato grande, you know? But yeah, Ryu, he can fight back in the ZvT. He definitely can. But speaking of fighting back, something that is fighting back hard is Ryu's internet. So we are delaying the start of game 2 a little bit here because Ryu did disconnect. His internet went down for a moment, so he has to restart his router. He has to restart his modem, unfortunately. So we do have to wait a little bit here, and Tavo is more than happy to wait. He's like, all good, I'm going to go for a bit of a bio break, and I'll be back in a couple of moments. So we are just waiting for Ryu to reconnect, and then we can jump into game number 2. So it is all good. Meanwhile, since we do have a moment here, let's have a look at the— oh my god! I was gonna say, let's have a look at the rest of the bracket. Cosmos 2-0'd Ares! Cosmos 2-0'd him! What? Oh my god. Cosmos is popping off. He's crazy. Ay, ay, ay. So because of that, Cosmos is currently going up against Eggs in the lower quarterfinals. Meanwhile, we have our first semifinalist, the Zerglord 2-0'd Master, and I was just talking about him. Again, the Zerglord, Eggs, and Ryu, all very strong Zerg players in Latin America. And the Zerglord is there in the semifinals, waiting for his opponent. Unfortunately, it looks like he's going to be waiting for a while. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like he's going to be waiting for a while because he's waiting for Eric, who is currently waiting for Nico, and Loki. So, a lot of matches going on there. But we are still in this one, and again, this could be the last game in the series, or we could be going to the ace match. It all depends on what happens here on Lightshade. Lightshade, a much smaller map. Maybe not the maybe not the best map for mech, but we'll see. We shall see. As spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Lightshade LE, we have the Peruvian Terran player representing Unidos por el Vicio, currently down in the series, but not out. It is Tavo. And spawning in the top left hand corner of Lightshade, we have the Peruvian Zerg player. He is representing the CranKy Ducklings, and up in this series, can he close it out? It is Ryu. So again, very understandable that Tavo went for mech on Jagannatha because it's a little bit easier to expand and take your 4 bases and split the map in half. On a map like Lightshade though, I don't know about that. You can still get your 4 bases up and running, but at the same time, it is a lot more constrained and confined as a map. You don't have as much room to work with and as many bases to take and expand. I would expect a more aggressive style to come out here from Tavo. I would enjoy a more bio tank heavy style. I've seen Chaos Fate, you know, again, take many maps off of Ryu on a map like this. So we'll see. We'll see if Tavo switches things up and goes bio tank, or if he commits to the mech. What I will say is that I'm not opposed to him playing mech, especially because in game 1, I don't think he played badly. I think he played mech very well. I do think that what let Tavo down in game 1 more than anything was his positioning. Like macro wise, he was keeping up. Upgrade wise he was keeping up. But bases he was keeping up. Just positioning is really what hurt him there. So again, it just goes to show how much Tavo has been improving over these past couple of weeks and months. Meanwhile, Ryu, he had a very nice response as well. his hive was a little bit late, is what I will say, and it's a problem that Ryu has had for a long time. He does kind of tunnel vision too much on lair tech, and that's probably the biggest criticism that I can give Ryu. It happens quite often where even when he's going Ling Bane Muta, he just gets stuck on Ling Bane Muta for too long, and sometimes that's his downfall. So his tech was a little bit late. He also never went for Vipers. You could argue that he never needed Vipers because the role of the Infestor was to take the role of the Viper there. You know, they were meant to be the MVPs, and they were, to be fair, they were. But I do think that Ryu would have had a little bit of a harder time if Tavo's army was a little bit more consolidated when he pushed out. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, this is all a speculation about game 1. You know, will it come into play here in game 2? Maybe. We'll see. As so far, this is the exact same opener that Tavo went for in game 1. Going for a 1-1-1, but with the CC before the starport has completed. So a much faster third CC here for Tavo before the starport's thrown down. Sorry, that's what I should have said. And we do have a switch. Going for Banshees this time, not for BCs, and I think this is the correct play. So BCs take a lot longer to get up and running because obviously you need a fusion core, and then the BC takes longer to create than a Banshee. So if a roach push comes, you may just die. Banshees are a lot safer. Again, a lot of it is because Lightshade is shorter, which means the rush distance is shorter, which means the roaches get across the map faster. Meanwhile, how did this happen? A slow Ling, sorry, a Ling gets into the main. And with that, Ryu, sure, his Overlord didn't get a scout off, but his Lings did, and Ryu sees everything. He saw the 1-1-1, he saw the Tech Lab researching, he knows that Banshees are on the way. And a very interesting choice, he makes the lair at his third. I had to take a sip of water. Okay, alright. Lair at the third, let's go. So yeah, I mean, this will mean that the third is a little bit more, has more HP, I guess. That's probably the biggest thing. And we'll see how things go here. Again, we do have a Roach Warren for Ryu, but it's not like he was going for a committed Roach all-in or an early game push, because he is focusing on his economy. It is more of a safety Roach Warren. In case something comes out from Tavo, Ryu will be able to respond and have an army in time. Meanwhile, Banshees are finally moving out. They were a little bit delayed because Tavo was waiting for his second Banshee, which makes sense. Tavo knows he got scouted, so one Banshee shouldn't do anything. Instead, he waits for two, because now with two, you can one-shot workers. Doesn't matter if you got scouted, you can still deal some damage. And there we go. Two Banshees come in, and they do go for the workers. Oh my god! Oh, detection comes in, and one of the Banshees will go down. No, the target fire wasn't there. Both Banshees survive. That was very close. That was very close there for Tavo, but he does manage to survive, keeps both Banshees alive. I kind of want him to go back home and repair, not gonna lie. Does take out a creep tumor, so he does still find more value, and yo, could he force a cancel on this fourth base? Queens are looking to respond. We do have the Overseer on the way, and the Queens do catch up. Ooh. They do just barely hold on to the fourth hatchery. And there it is. I appreciate this from Tavo. Again, it can be harder to make mech work here, so he is going bio. We do have all these Raxes. We got our upgrades on the way. 1-1 combat shields. We've had enough of that mech for now. And what I appreciate is that, again, he kept the Banshees alive, he comes back home, he's going to be able to repair and dive out once again and try and find more value with them. Speaking of value, we do have a bit of a drop being set up. Armory is on the way. It's not done yet, but once it finishes, it will mean that these Hellions can then turn into Hellbats, and they will help so much when it comes to buffering and protecting the rest of the army. If that's what he goes for. He could just YOLO them in and just try and get into a mineral line, I guess. You know, just to find something something done with them. And that's exactly what he does. A lot of these Hellions are going to go down, but at the same time, we do have that double drop into the main base. There are a couple of Lings here to deal with it, but oh, the move command and Medevac even gets picked off there as he tries to retreat. The Queens were all in position for this drop. Again, this creep spread doing so much here for Ryu. And Ryu defends both ends at once, the Hellions and the drop. And now Ryu, his 4th is up and running. He's working on a 5th base as well. His upgrades are very late though. And that is like the probably the biggest advantage that Tavo has. Tavo is working on 2-2 while 1-1 is still on the way for Ryu. So his army overall will be able to trade a little bit more efficiently. You know, there will be these big windows where he has that upgrade advantage. But he has to be careful because again, he's splitting up his attention. He's relying a lot on these drops. He cannot afford to lose them. As we do have a double drop here towards the south. Banshees are trying to slip in, and they will get a couple more drones. Only a couple, as the Queens are doing a very good job chasing them down. At the same time, the Bioforce pushes in. The Splits puppy! He will lose an entire medevac full of Marines. Not the medevac itself, just the Marines. But he will be able to back off. At the same time, the other drop, it looks like that was also dealt with. It does return back home. And what is terrifying is that even though there were Banshees, and even though there were even 2 drops out on the map, the creep spread is starting to get out of control. We've reached more than the halfway point here for Ryu. Like, trying to push into this is going to be so scary as a Terran player. There we go, we do have a scan, and some of this creep is finally going to be cleaned up. Like, he needs to keep this under control. Meanwhile, Ryu is getting ready for the engagement. Got plenty of Roach Ravager. Ling's going for a bit of a run by. Oh my god, and they will get into the natural base. At the same time, the main army is going to push on forward. This hatchery should go down, but Ryu is prepared to lose it as he is taking another 5th base. Thankfully, the reinforcements do deal with the Ling run by. The Lings don't do anything across the map. And we are lacking in Banelings. We have a handful, but not enough. And Ryu is aware of that. He needs a little bit more time. But Tavo doesn't want to risk it, and I do not blame him. Like, it can always be risky pulling the trigger and just stimming forward into creep. So he's taking his time, trying to skirt his way across the map. Meanwhile, the Ling Bane is going to rush on forward. The tanks, they do siege up, but the Banelings, they're finding their connections. Oh my god, and the Zerg army just swallows up everything that Tavo has. The tanks go down, some of the bio does get evacuated, but oh my god, how many tanks was that? 4 tanks went down. We do have a switch into Widowmines though, thankfully, but he needs to set up as soon as possible. We do have a bit of a Roach run by, but there is a Planetary here. The Roaches will be dealt with. Another double drop headed towards the northern edges of the map. What I will say is that these drops are doing a really good job just because there's very limited anti-air. For the longest time, Ryu has been relying on his Queens, going straight into Hive. I just worry because without any tanks, the defensive position here at the 3rd base for Tavo is so much weaker. Oh my god. Okay, Widowmine's just barely holding on. We did have an attempted drop here into the main, but it is forced back. Thankfully, Ryu didn't have too much momentum, so after cleaning up the army earlier, he couldn't keep going. Or maybe he could have, but he didn't go for it. So Tavo, he's still in this. He's holding on. Gotta just take care, Papi. The biggest problem for Tavo is that ultras are on the way. Like, again, Ryu was being very greedy. Not going for Hydras, not going for Mutas, not going for Spire. Giving Tavo the freedom to go for all these drops consistently. But to make up for it, he has a Hive. He has an Ultra Cavern. He has Infestors for Fungals, and the Ultras are already on the map. And now they're finally going to reveal themselves. They're looking to try and sandwich this army. The army trying to focus on the hatchery. He does not get the hatchery, and now it's go time for Ryu. He's almost maxed out. He's looking to head towards that base. But the drop is looking to try and keep him home. It doesn't work. He's going in. Oh my god, juicy Baneling connections, but the Infestors, they're looking to get their Fungals off, and they will! The Fungals land, the Ultras are getting on top of the army. And that may be it here for Tavo. We did have a drop here across the map, but there was an army to help defend here. The base will go down. 16 SCVs fall. We do have tanks on the high ground, and Tavo will hold on to his natural. The base itself will survive. But Tavo lost a lot in that engagement. He lost a lot of workers. He lost a lot of army. And Ryu has the economy to keep going. Unfortunately, even though like the pushes have been pretty good for Tavo, he hasn't been able to get into a mineral line. The drops have never been able to kill any workers. Like, look at the units lost. Like, Ryu has lost 3 drones this game. That's a scary position to be in as a Terran player. Like, something that you need to do and something that Terran has the tools for is harassment. And he just hasn't been able to pull it off. Meanwhile, in comes Ryu for the second wave. Ultras now have ultra speed. We do have these infestors that are looking to try and get some fungals, and they will. Once again, they blanket the army. Oh my god. Nice biles do connect with the Liberators. In the end, these tanks should go down. As again, they hold on. The tanks hold on, I should say. But at the same time, the 4th base did go down, and GG gets called. Ryu takes the series 2-0. GG. Well played. With that, Ryu will advance on to the semifinals. He is now the 2nd player into the semis. But what I will say is that Tavo played well. He played well there, I feel. Like, especially game 1. Game 1, like, definitely could have gone a different direction if a couple of things went his way. But overall, like, game 1, like, Tavo wasn't taking economic damage. He was getting away with what he wanted to do. Game 2 was a different story. It's a very different story. But, again, I do think that Tavo had a good showing, and I hope that he isn't too deterred. Again, Tavo has been improving very consistently over the past couple of months. And he's not stopping. Like, he is continuing to improve and gain more skills and become a better player. And I don't think he's gonna stop. Not anytime soon.